Well, we just finished an incredible session of our D&D game on One Crit Wonders channel, playing in the Essentials kit. This is the Dragon of Icespire Peak, and man, are we having a good time. Well, for today's DnDaily, I thought I would do something a little bit differently because we had such a good time at the break talking and goofing around, and we happened to have this like impromptu discussion because we have a table full, essentially a virtual table full of almost all dungeon masters, and we had this kind of impromptu discussion about, you know, the difference between like running your own homebrewed module and running your own homebrewed content versus running a module, and the need to be spontaneous and adapt to what your players throw at you. And so it was this fun, interesting impromptu conversation we had, and we thought we'd share it with you. And then on top of that, there's some goofiness at the end, so stick around and enjoy a good laugh here as we do some silliness with green screen stuff. So let's see what DMs get up to at and around the water cooler.
I finished watching through your videos again today, and I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch at least one or two of them because, like, they're so dense with information. It's awesome.
I'm really happy that you like them.
For sure, man. I mean, you're doing great. You got, you know, you're getting like close to 100 video or 100 views on some of them, and some of them are over 100 already, right?
Yeah, a few of them are.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting that, actually. It was surprising. But I guess a lot of them are friends in here from Israel that, you know, I post on Facebook, on our Facebook group.
Sure. Whenever
I upload a new video, and yeah, some people here just go and watch it and support their friend who makes something on the internet.
That's awesome. Those are good friends.
Yeah.
I've got the handful of guys I've been playing with D&D with since I was, you know, in high school, and those schmucks aren't even cool enough to like just go and not even watch it and give it a like you bastards. Come on. Can't help a brother out? What the hell?
Yeah.
Plus, I think most of them would probably enjoy, you know, I don't know. They know me,
agree.
so maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. It might be too much for them. Like, that's the last thing we need.
There was this video you spoke about agency, which I really liked.
Thank you. Yeah, that was pretty inspired. I was watching. So when I'm at work, if I'm doing things that are somewhat mundane, I am able to just like listen to, you know, games or podcasts or whatever. And I happened to be listening to the last Chain episode, and I noticed Matt Colville doing it on more than one occasion. And I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. And the players didn't really mind at all that he sort of did that. I was like, interesting. And it just dawned on me like, wow, it really depends on the players at the table, big time.
Yep.
I have found that it takes establishing a culture of player agency to make it work at the table.
That's a good idea.
You know, because a lot of times, you know, especially a lot of the published adventures, they're somewhat prescriptive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to be. I mean, I got to define something, I put it in a book, and that's what we're covering, right? It's in the book, and a lot of DMs are not comfortable going off the beaten path here and just kind of riffing with it, and so a lot of players that's kind of the experience they're used to. But when you really adopt a full, you know, sandbox player agency type of model, it really puts a lot of onus back on the players for them to say, okay, this is what we know, this is what we're about, this is what we're going to do.
Sure.
And as a DM, that means it's a whole different style of prep, right? Like the way I prep is probably not how most other people prep. You know, I prep to improvise, right?
Nice.
Because that's what we come. Because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I have tendencies like, okay, I know they've been on this trail for a while, so I know what their heading is. But at a moment's notice, they could say, "Oh, we're turning off the beaten path again, and we're doing this other thing because we learned something new all of a sudden." And it'll change their direction, and that can frustrate a lot of DMs, right? Because I prepped this scene, this encounter, and they're not ready for it. So it's a culture on both sides of the screen. You get players comfortable with pulling the proverbial trigger to make a decision, and as a DM, you've got to be ready no matter where they go for at least a session. Like I better be able to fill something for a session, and there are ways, of course, you can do that, but it doesn't come easy. It's a completely different mindset than traditional DMing.
Well, and I would imagine you get just better and better at it. Like the more practice you get, the more you get into your own rhythm over the years.
Right,
and so.
Right. You know, I mean, I'm sure you've heard DMs before cry about like, I do all this prep and I don't use half of it.
Right.
because of the inevitable truth that no plan survives contact with the player.
Sure.
So I kind of stopped trying to do that.
Nice.
Because I'm like, what do I need to actually run a coherent session that makes sense within the narrative construct of the campaign? And it completely changed the way I prepare.
Nice. Yeah, it's so funny because like for ages I was just playing in games, and I was like, my friend loved DMing and he was good at it, and so he always was the DM and GM if we were playing different games. And so it's like I just never had that reason to run a game until a few years ago, where it was like, well, shit, our game I was in with some cool people that I still wanted to play with fell apart, and I was like, well, shit, I'll DM for a little while and see how that goes. And then that just kind of like snowballed into like where I really enjoy running games now, and I'm like constantly trying to like improve, and that's why I love your videos, Aviad, because you're really thoughtful, and the information you're presenting is super helpful. And so like I've been going through all of Matt Colville's running the game and your stuff, and then I'm doing my own things and conversations on Twitter and all that, so it's all helpful. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I find that prep for a written adventure in a published campaign setting is easier, but harder at the table in execution, because you're trying to remember. I read 80 pages of stuff, and I'm trying to remember all that stuff.
That makes sense, yeah. That's true. I've been struggling with that big time.
For homebrew might be tougher because all the work's on you, but execution at the table is easier because you wrote it. It's really familiar. Right. It's the idea of creation is more powerful than your memory.
That's cool.
And also,
what the beat is here.
And also, if you do something a little differently when it's a homebrew, that's fine. You don't have to rely. It's your world. You can do the changes and alterations. If it's something that's pre-made and you make some changes, then it can affect things later on.
Yeah, it's easier to fill in the blanks, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my concern. Is like I want to sort of just like be more present in the moment and spontaneous and role play and whatever, but my concern is that if I'm too far off in that, then it's going to make my life miserable because other plot elements or whatever are going to get all wacky and weird. So
well, you can just trust yourself that you'll be able to figure it out, because that's what GMs do. We just go there, we try to prepare for what we can, and I think we plan to improvise a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even when you run a pre-made campaign and with pre-made adventure, there are things that you wouldn't be able to predict, and you'll have to do on the fly, and that's half the fun, I think.
Yeah.
Totally. Thanks, guys.
And we are back. And like the jerks they are, my players had like some totally awesome conversation on the break. So
hopefully you're saving our break discussions and can release them as separate YouTube videos.
I could do that because I'm actually recording the whole thing, so I would do that if you don't have it available.
It's free content.
Yeah.
So we're back, and my players are having great conversation on the break. However, I unfortunately muted the stream on the break, even though I can hear them on a chat program. So none of that amazing conversation is something that I have and can use in any format. So Gregory, since you are also recording, you have my permission to have our what is that, the like GM fireside chat or whatever you want to call that.
Nice.
Here's the Essentials Kit break room conversation.
Yeah,
That's
that was
perfect.
like an impromptu panel discussion on DMing pre-mades versus homebrew.
DM's at the water cooler.
There you go.
All right. As per usual, I'll leave the chat going if y'all want to hang out and nerd out.
I'm gonna mess around with the camera, see if I can get it working.
Later.
Okay.
That was a really good end.
Oh god, freaking
Yeah, that was
amazing.
great.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
Have a good
Good
one.
night.
Talk to you next time.
Man, credits that whole Oathbreaker thing with all the smoke and the fear. It was so cool. I love it.
When he finally went Death Knight. And then I imagine at the end when the fight's over, the smoke goes away, he lifts up his helmet and just lights up a cigar and walks away.
Right, like nothing happened.
Yep.
No big deal. I'm out of here.
Definitely. That's cool.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Whoa!
That's so awesome.
Psychedelic.
Ooh, that's super cool. Totally unintentional, but it looks badass. Alright, let's see. How do we do this again? Video. Choose virtual background. Alright, let's go back to none. And then... Oh, that's even...
That's even better.
I love it.
You got blended your hair into your beard and the side thing to it. Looks like you've got a big
Oh
Jesus.
crap, this is awesome. And it's actually getting, I haven't stopped my recording on Streamlabs, so this is still
Awesome.
recording, yeah. I'll have fun with that, I think.
Somebody's got a new profile picture.
Yeah, dude. Include that in the video of us talking on break.
I feel like,
Yes.
like hippie Jesus or something here.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus on a whole lot of mescaline.
Oh my goodness. Alright, let's try this again.
All right. We're going to take off.
Yep, have a good night.
Have a good night.
I'm just
Good
gonna
night
excuse this
/
for a minute.
good morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good night, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of silliness. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep rolling 20s, and remember, it's your game. Play your way. I'm fuddling with my beard all the time lately. In our The Dragon of Ice Spear. Ay, ay, ay. And they just start talking. And thank you. I don't know. It's your game. Play your way.